endless skies. Oh, I'm living that nomad life, city to city, feeling alive. From mountain tops to ocean drives, unchained, I thrive, I
Let me start again. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Nomads 50 Plus, and today we have a very special guest, Joe Barnes from Working Traveler. And I believe, actually, I should always ask you to introduce yourself because I'm not sure if I say things incorrectly. So, can you please introduce yourself and tell us about your organization and what you're passionate about?
Sure. And it's perfect. I am Joe Barnes and I am the working traveller. So you
You
got
have
it
an
bang
easy to pronounce name, unlike mine.
on. I'm not even going to try with yours. I'm not even going to try. Um, yeah, so I'm Joe and I am the founder, I guess, of the blog and brand The Working Traveller. I've also got a Facebook group called 50 Plus Nomads. And my whole brand and business is all about traveling the world after 50. So we actually started our journey 15 years ago. So I was actually 38-ish when we left the UK to set sail on our nomadic adventure. But unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but child gets in the way,
Yes, that's a
and
problem.
so
Family,
we actually,
I tell you.
yeah, we actually had to kind of clip our nomadic adventures slightly in that
Hmm.
we became expats, I guess. And so we lived in Thailand for the bulk of the last 10, 12 years while my daughter went to school. And we're now currently in Brisbane. She's working to save up for college. She goes to college in London in September this year. And at that point, my husband and I are finally free to nomad around the world at our pleasure.
So
Yeah.
you went from the UK to Thailand, and then from Thailand you went to Australia, or what was your journey?
Yeah, kind of. What happened? We left the UK in 2010, and my daughter was 4, and we had kind of plans to travel the world. And I didn't really know what world schooling. I'd heard of what the word world schooling, but
Hmm.
I just didn't really think that far ahead. We just kind of left and said, "Come on, let's go." So it all happened very fast, actually. Some friends of ours lived in Cyprus, and we'd been out to visit them a few months previous, and they were doing something called internet marketing.
Hmm.
It really intrigued me because everything they did was online and they were earning all their money online and they could go
Nice.
anywhere and do anything. And I
Those were the
thought,
days.
those are the days, yeah. And so I was like, wow, that's really intriguing. And my good friend Daniel said to me, read The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. So
Yes.
I
That's such a
literally,
pivotal work. I love that book.
you
That
know,
book's amazing.
so many digital nomads I speak to have been inspired by the 4 Hour Work Week. And so, yeah, I basically inhaled that book on the plane on the way home. And that was me sold. I was saying to my then boyfriend, now husband, we got to leave. We got to go traveling. We can work online. We can do this. This is fantastic. So,
Wow. So you were early to this. It was 2010. A lot of people are
yeah.
just looking at it, thinking about it now. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so basically my the same friend and his girlfriend were going traveling across the summer and had a full apartment in Cyprus and offered it up to us to house sit if we wanted to. And it was just post-recession. We were having a hard time. Things weren't going great. That's just the past. And so we just packed everything up and scooped my 4-year-old under my arm, sold everything we own within a week, jumped on a
Nice.
plane and said, let's go and live in Cyprus for the next 3 months and see what happens.
Nice. I hear it's
So
beautiful. I haven't been yet, but I want to. I want to go. I've been all over Greece, but I haven't been to Cyprus yet.
it's beautiful. Yeah,
Mm.
Cyprus, lovely. Yeah, yeah. We stayed at a place near Paphos and we stayed in an apartment overlooking the sea caves and it was just gorgeous.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, that's fantastic. Nothing you would have ever done anything like that in the UK, right? I
No,
mean, yeah,
no, not at all.
yeah,
No, it was crazy. It
yeah.
was crazy. And so we didn't have very much money. We had some, properties at home that we'd rented out and a couple of credit cards and, a little bit of savings. And we just kind of said, well, let's go for it. And so I started working online, trying to figure out how to earn money online, how are we going to support ourselves. And I almost gave up actually. We ended up living in my husband's actually Australian.
Hmm.
Ended up living in his parents' basement over Christmas for about 3 months, 4 months, with which when you've got a 4 year
You
old,
got to do what you got to do, right?
you got to do, but it's never good with the in-laws, especially when you're a responsible adult with a child of your own.
Exactly. This is temporary. In and
Yeah.
out.
But they were very generous, very kind, and we stayed there for a little while we were trying to sort of just gather our finances and figure out what we're going to do. And then I'd been building an audience. I'd been posting a lot on Facebook. That was back in the organic Facebook days, but when you could actually get an audience just through organic content.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Again,
and
those were the days.
those were the days, yeah. And I was building this huge audience, teaching people how they could build their audience on Facebook.
So
And
you were building an audience, teaching people how to build an audience. I love it. It's very
basically,
meta.
yeah, yeah, basically, yeah, it's very meta. That's exactly what I put in one of my blog posts recently. Very meta. Um, and and I built an email list of about 18,000 people and sold a course and did a launch that generated me six figures in within a week. So
Oh,
it
fantastic. What year was
was
that?
kind of that was in 2011. Um,
Nice.
and that was the launch pad. That was it. Once I'd figured out how you could do that, then there was really no turning back.
And where were you when that happened? Were you still in Cyprus at the time or?
Actually, in my mum's living room. So we'd started in Cyprus, and then we had gone to Australia, and I was building the audience and everything while we were in Australia. And then I can't remember what happened. We must have gone back to England to visit family or whatever. And I had this launch planned. We were going to a big event in London, like a big networking, internet marketing event or whatever. So we were back in England for that. And I did the live webinar in my mum's living room. And that's when we sort of launched my first course
Wow,
and
I love it. That's amazing. That's great.
I went crazy.
So you were
Um,
traveling as you were doing all this. So it's fantastic. See, it's amazing
absolutely.
what you could do, right? You
Yeah.
can't, you don't need to be tied down anymore. You can do anything
No.
from anywhere. I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, so after that we I think we went back to Thailand because we'd kind of gone through Thailand to Australia. So we'd gone
Hmm.
from Cyprus, we'd stayed in Thailand for a few weeks on our route to Australia and we'd loved it, really liked Thailand. So we decided to come back to Thailand
Hmm.
and stay in Thailand for a little while. And I think we stayed there for about 3 months and then we did a little bit of traveling around. I can't remember where. I think we went back to Australia for a little while. We lived in Australia for a little while as and my daughter then got to a stage where she needed to go to school.
Hmm.
So I think Australia, put her in school in Australia, thought about whether we wanted to stay in Australia for her schooling years, decided to go back to Thailand for a little bit longer. Anyway, we kind of did that jaunt between England, Thailand, Australia for a bit, for a couple of years. And then
And
we
the whole
decided
time you were doing this, you were building your business at the same time.
was building my business. Yeah, it was
Mm,
growing really, really well. I was doing lots of courses. I had a membership site, and we were probably generating around 20 to $30,000 a month in
fantastic.
courses, and I was doing a bit of affiliate marketing, and just sort of dabbling with lots of different things.
Did your husband
Um,
work as well, or was he assisting you with this?
he was working with me on this. Yeah,
Okay, good,
yeah.
excellent.
Um, and then we decided to stay in Thailand for my daughter's schooling. So we thought, let's stay. We love Thailand and we made lots of good friends and we love the food and we love the weather and we love the culture and we love the fact that it was cheap.
Nice.
And so we thought, let's stay in Thailand and we'll send our daughter to school, which was not cheap. But we thought, well, okay, that's fine. Let's send her to
It's
school.
interesting because you think Thailand's cheap, but a school wasn't cheap in Thailand?
Not an international school. No,
Oh, okay.
no, no. Um, so yeah, so we sent her there, and at that time, Amazon FBA had just sort of launched its thing as a thing for sellers to sell on Amazon.
Yeah.
So we started an Amazon FBA business, and within a year, the income from that eclipsed the prior 4 or 5 years of what I'd been doing.
Wow. What did you sell on Amazon FBA?
We sold a digital cooking thermometer.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, we sold a digital cooking thermometer. It was priced at I think maybe I don't know, $15, $16.
Did
And in the
did you do
first
that under your brand or did you spin out
no,
like a
no,
second brand?
we had a second brand called Chef Remy.
Nice.
Yeah, we called it Chef Remy. We just sat there, came up with that. Okay,
I
so
love
this
that. That's great.
actually this is a good story. I need to tell this story because it's funny. So I'm a really, really bad cook, right? Like
Okay.
literally awful. Yeah. My 18-year-old daughter now says that she enjoys the taste of slightly burnt food because a lot of food
He's
is
gotten
slightly
used to it.
burnt, right?
Just like mom used to make.
And my husband is equally bad. He's rubbish, right? So neither of us have any interest in the kitchen whatsoever. But when Amazon FBA started, and I would not recommend anybody do this now. Now you need to go and build a niche, build a brand,
Sure.
do something really want to immerse yourself in. But when it started, it was early adopters, open for all sort of thing.
Right.
And the best way to get started was simply to find a product that was super popular, was
Mm,
really high demand, was selling really, really well, but as yet didn't have too much competition,
right.
um, and was light and easy to ship.
Hmm.
So we basically found this digital cooking thermometer, and so we built our brand around this digital cooking thermometer. So we said, well,
Phenomenal. That's great.
let's
I
give
love
it,
it.
let's give it a name, let's give it a personality. So we called it Chef Remy, as if we were going to start giving cooking tips.
I love it.
Um, and it sold over 83,000 units in
Oh
the
my
first.
God, that's amazing. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. So it basically it was over seven figures in year one. And don't get too excited, anybody listening, because that doesn't mean you take home seven figures because the costs of
No,
Amazon are high.
revenues are always different from what you end up
Absolutely.
with.
Yeah. All your shipping fees and all the rest of it. You're lucky if you walk away with 15, 20%
Oh yeah.
margins.
Yeah. My wife
But
does Etsy. It's the same thing. It's margins are so tight on all of this stuff. It's crazy. But
yeah.
that's amazing. So did you actually spin off a whole nother brand with a whole bunch of other products, or did you just stick
Yeah, we
with like,
did.
okay,
Yeah, no,
nice.
we went crazy. We sold cutting boards, we sold scissors, we sold spatulas, we sold spoons, we went well into the whole cooking niche.
I love
Um,
it.
but I couldn't back it up with a TikTok or an Instagram because I couldn't start doing my own cooking tips.
So
Um,
with these utensils, you can cook amazingly. Not like me. No.
yeah, no, exactly. That would have actually been a really good marketing
Yeah.
campaign. But yeah, no, we did that for about 3 years, and that did really, really well. And then we had a heartbreaking story actually.
Oh no.
Um, we were going to sell it for life-changing money. We had an
Mm.
offer on the table for life-changing money, and we were literally within a week of signing all the contracts, and they pulled out at the last minute because they'd over leveraged.
Oh
Um,
no. That's
yeah,
terrible.
in those days, there used to be a lot of these companies that arbitrage
Mm.
Amazon businesses. So
Oh
they'd
yeah,
go and
yeah,
they'd
for
come
sure.
over them. Yeah. Anyway, so they just decided at the last minute. So we ended up selling it for a lot less than we wanted to. We did all right, but a lot less than we wanted to just at the beginning of 2020, actually, just before COVID.
Now, did you do, I'm assuming that you had to be like for FBA, you kind of have to be in one place, right? Because you're fulfilling, or they're fulfilling for you,
No,
or you,
Amazon does it for you.
so
Amazon
you
does
could
it.
still be traveling and doing FBA at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't realize that because they're holding the inventory,
They
right?
hold the
So,
inventory. You don't have to do, yeah, you literally are behind your laptop. That's it. So you're going, I mean, to be fair, my husband went over to China quite a few times because he wanted to go and meet the manufacturers, create better
right. And of course,
relationships,
it was
get
easy to get
better
there
terms.
from if you're in Australia or Thailand,
We
wherever
were in
you.
Thailand, yeah.
Hmm.
And definitely meeting suppliers and stuff. It helps grow those relationships. You get better terms, you get better credit terms, all that sort of all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so we did go over to China a few times, but other than that, no, everything's you get your samples of your products initially, and
Yeah.
then we had a really, really great fulfillment guy in America, Seb. He's still doing it now, and so we would ship all of our stuff over to him, and his team would quality check and all that sort of stuff, and then they'd send the stuff into the Amazon warehouses for us.
So you're not doing any FBA anymore. You sold off that business, or are
No,
you
so we
doing something
sold.
different?
No, we sold that off in 2020.
Hmm.
Um, so we were still in Thailand at the time, but doing lots and lots of traveling as well. So holidays and Easters and all the rest of it during,
And
school
you were
holidays.
still working, you're still doing your other brand while you're doing all this at the same
No, I
time.
took a bit of a break actually. So over that year when we launched the Amazon business, I did some education on how to build an Amazon business. And we had a few great success stories. One of my good friends, Dan, he's still traveling the world now with a multi-million-dollar business in art.
Nice.
Starting from that Amazon. I had another guy who sold his business for $2 million a few years later, who'd come through our training. So we did quite well in that training thing in that first year. But then we were doing so well on the Amazon, and Keris was at an age, my daughter was at an age where I really needed to be around a bit more rather than 24/7 hustling. So I kind of stopped doing my digital stuff and just had a bit of a break to spend some
Hmm.
time with Keris and immerse myself in the Thai expat community for a couple of.
Nice. That sounds great. But then you had made enough money at that time to be able to do that. Like
Yeah.
you could take a break, or did your husband keep working? Well, while you
Yeah,
were
my,
doing that, or
my husband was still working on the Amazon business. Yeah,
yeah,
that was definitely his, it was definitely more his bag than mine. I'm much more of a content creator, relationship builder, etc. The Amazon
yeah.
business, data, numbers, yeah.
So you
So
wrapped up, did you wrap up both businesses during this period or just the, so you,
no, no.
you already sold?
So we were in Thailand and we started the Amazon business in about 2015, I think.
Hmm.
And then I wrapped up my business, I think, at the end of 2016. And then we carried on with the Amazon business until 2020.
And this is the Amazon content business, not FBA, or is this
No,
FBA?
The Amazon FBA business. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so you,
I'm the content girl. So I wrapped up my business completely by the end of 2016, but we carried on with the FBA business until 2020.
right. And then you
Yeah.
sold that off for
We sold that
something,
off.
and then you
Yeah.
started, when did you start again? Or did
We,
you take another break?
so I was kind of I struggled with the whole taking a break thing.
I can
And so
imagine once you're on that treadmill, if you miss it,
yes,
you miss it. You really do.
you do. Yes, you really do. And I mean it was good. I lost lots of weight. I went to lots of yoga classes. I spent time with my daughter, etc. But I was never a lady who lunches. I really struggled with the whole ladies who lunch thing.
The
Um,
socialite life was not a life, the life of for you, right?
no, no, no. It wasn't healthy, actually, Chris. It's a very unhealthy life. There's a lot
But
of
you had all that
drinking.
time for yoga and
Oh,
walks and
no, but there's a lot of drinking, a lot of brunches, a lot of that sort of stuff. And no, no, yeah,
how
definitely
do
need.
those socialites stay so thin? I don't understand. I don't know how they do it.
Well, yeah, I know. And you know what the funny thing is, in Phuket where we were, so many of them are athletes. They're like real, full on athletes
Right.
and ridiculously heavy drinkers. And you're like, how the hell do you manage to put all that away and then get up and go for a run the next day? I don't know how you.
It's
It's
nuts. It's nuts. So how long were you in Thailand for?
on 12 years.
Wow. And then
Mm.
how did you just have to renew your visa over and over again? Is that how you were able to stay?
Yeah, because my daughter was at school, so
Hmm.
she had an immediate education visa, and I got something called a guardian visa.
Oh,
Uh,
excellent.
yeah, so I was able to stay with her pretty much as long. We had to just do that once a year, and then my husband had to do various tourist visas, volunteer visas, all sorts
Right.
of different.
Whatever he needed to do to get through. And
Absolutely.
then you decided to leave and go to Australia after that? Or at what point and why did you decide to move?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, after we sold the Amazon business, my husband bought and sold a couple of small e-commerce businesses that he was just sort of playing around with, and I started what a blog called Your Lifestyle Business,
Hmm.
which was basically the working traveler version one, right?
Right.
So it was me wanting to talk about my journey, talk about our lifestyle, talk to other travelers, nomads, and say, "Hey, this is what we've done. This is how you can do it too." So I started Your Lifestyle Business as a blog. I thought, okay, a blog's a good way to go here. I've
Hmm.
never spent too much time blogging. It's a whole new world to me. I'm going to learn about SEO. I'm going to figure out how this all works, and I'm going
Right.
to immerse myself in this. So I started going to lots of SEO conferences in Chiang Mai. I met all the SEO crowd up there. I was going to SEO conferences in Vietnam. I was learning everything.
Nice.
And my blog was growing really, really well. And I got to just over 100,000 hits a month. And I think the best month I had was about $11,000.
Nice.
Yeah, and that
What was that? Was that for the affiliates or selling
was
content
affiliates.
or?
Affiliates and sponsorship.
Hmm.
So basically, with a blog, there's a few ways to make money. But I didn't. I had display ads at one point, but I didn't like the company I was with, Zoic. I went with a Zoic, but they were a horrible company to work with. So I stopped doing display ads, and I started doing sponsorship. So people would sponsor articles. Yeah, so you'd write about certain products or what have you, and you'd
Right.
get paid for doing
Now,
that.
did you bring your customers over from that 18,000 person list, or is this a whole new set of customers?
Some, yeah,
Okay.
some of my current email subscribers have known me since day one. Some
Nice.
of my this podcast will go out to some of my email and they'll go, "Oh, Joe,
I love it.
been with you from the start. Looking a bit old now, Joe."
It hasn't
Um,
been that long. Come on. It's
yeah.
not that bad. It's the same century. Come on.
So yeah, so some, but yeah, but just gradually building a whole new audience as well of
Yeah.
people who just wanted to know how to,
I love the way
um,
you took your own experiences and you use them to build like everything you've done is meta. It's like you build a meta, you meta on top of meta on top of meta. This is great. I love it.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So, and funnily enough, one of my highest earning pages on my blog was my How I Built a Seven-Figure Amazon FBA Business blog
Mm.
post,
Hmm.
which was our story pretty much laid out, in graphic detail, everything to build your FBA business. And I was recommending the Jungle Scout software that we used with our business and have used for years. And yeah, so, and that was my biggest affiliate seller on my site, actually.
Nice. Is that still a
Yeah.
big seller today? Or I'm assuming this all of this stuff has changed a lot over the last little while. I mean, how do you find things have changed from when you started and halfway through and then to today?
So interestingly, things haven't changed very much at all, right?
Really?
Yeah, not, no,
But you were
it's,
saying FBA is completely different. FBA
no,
might
yes.
be, but
They have and they haven't. Let me explain.
okay.
Okay, so um, when I started back in 2010, I I was solving a problem. I was online and I was solving a problem. People wanted to know at the time, how did they build their Facebook audience? Facebook was the big thing, right?
Right. Yep.
People wanted to know, how do I build my audience on Facebook? How do I grow an email list using Facebook? How do I, grow my brand using Facebook? That's what people wanted to know. And so I was online all the time giving so much value and free content. I was doing
Hmm.
videos, I was doing posts, I was learning how to use stuff and then sharing how I was learning it. And all the while I was doing that, I was building an email list of people that wanted to receive weekly or bi-weekly emails from me, notifying them of when I'd put up a new post or, had something interesting to share with them or had an offer or something like that.
Right.
Um, so
So
that
at
so
that
the
time you didn't have a blog. It was all on Facebook. It was all
It's
part of your
all
Facebook
on
groups.
Facebook,
Okay.
all on
Gotcha.
Facebook, right? Today, if you look at something like Substack, for instance, everybody wants to know how to grow on Substack. So how
Mm.
are the Substack people growing? They're on Substack, they're figuring out how to work it, and they're teaching other people how to grow on Substack.
Right.
So the platforms may have changed, but the game remains the same.
Mm.
If you have and sorry, I'm now going a bit in circles,
That's
but
fine.
if you have a deep interest in learning how to do something, let's say that you had a huge interest in that you wanted to learn how to bake cookies, right? That
Hmm.
was your thing, and you just wanted to know how to bake the most delicious cookies in the world. Then one of the best things you can do is go online, TikTok or Instagram or whatever, and bake cookies and show other people how to bake cookies, and then get people on your email list with your recipes of cookie baking and gradually grow your audience teaching people how to bake cookies.
Yeah,
Does
even if
that
it's a thing that you think nobody else, like everybody else knows how to bake cookies. Why would anybody want to watch me bake cookies? My cookies aren't any more special than anybody else's, but there's a huge audience for people who want to see people bake cookies. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah, it's
absolutely.
nuts. But
So,
so
so
the
yes, the
platforms don't,
platforms,
yeah,
yeah, the platforms don't matter. The platforms have changed over the years. Amazon's changed because when you're an early adopter of any platform, it's a bit easier to get in if you
very
break the
much so. Very much so. I
right?
agree with that
So
100%.
With Amazon, we didn't know our niche. We hadn't built an audience outside of Amazon and then gone on to Amazon. We'd gone on to Amazon and then, just sold all these products. Whereas
Yeah.
now, there's so much competition on Amazon, that original principle of building that audience of interested people, which has always been there from
Yeah.
day one,
Yeah.
is even more important now. So
Yeah.
if you go out, if you decide that you want to sell cookie baking kits, if you are on Instagram for 6 months or a year before you sell your cookie baking kits, and you've built up a massive audience of people interested in your cookie baking, and you've got an email list of 5,000 people who love your cookie baking tips every week, and you now launch a product on Amazon selling cookie baking kits, you're going to be a lot more successful selling your cookie baking
Yeah.
kits. I'm
Yeah.
trying to say,
I love that.
oh,
It's like a tongue twister. But you're right. Basically, what's happened is that the whole start of a business infrastructure has flipped because it used to be, build your product and then market your product. Now it's like market yourself and then sell your product based on yourself. So you have to build the brand first, you have to build the audience first, and then you introduce the product to the audience, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's how I did it from day one with Facebook.
Yeah.
I built the audience first, and then I found out what they wanted, and then I sold the product, and then I made a lot of money.
Yeah, and,
So,
and a lot of people want to do that thing right away. They want to
yeah,
sell the product first. They think about the problem first. They figure out the product first, and then they go, how do I pitch this? And it's backwards. That's not
yeah,
how it's done nowadays. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Very
So
cool.
So yeah, so basically we had sort of 2 or 3 years in Thailand where I was building your lifestyle business. My husband was buying and selling some e-commerce businesses, um, and my daughter was finishing school.
Hmm.
Um, and then, kind of all at once, Google at the end of 2023 decided that they were going to completely change the rules.
Mm.
They sank tens of thousands of niche websites overnight. They
Oh
literally,
no. I heard about that.
yeah,
It
end of
was awful.
2023. They just sank them.
And
I
that
remember
affected you a lot?
oh my God, it destroyed my business overnight. It was
Oh, you
gone.
got to be kidding me. That's
It,
terrible.
I just wiped it out. No, it's
Ugh.
my own stupid fault. It's my own stupid fault, Chris. It was not Google's fault. Look,
Mm.
when you rely completely on a third party, it's your own stupid fault
Yeah.
if it goes wrong. I
Yeah.
knew I knew that the secret to building a long-standing business was to build an email list because then you own that email list. You own that
Absolutely.
you can then speak to those people directly at any time, you know? I didn't do that. I don't know why I didn't do that. I was just caught up in blogging. I was caught up in SEO. I was learning a whole new language, which is, what engine optimization is. It's a completely new language. I was
Absolutely.
learning all of that and I just wasn't focused on my email list. So I had no leverage. So when Google sank my traffic, I was done. It was over.
Yeah.
All my traffic was
And
organic.
SEO, so would you say that SEO is something, is it still a skill you need today because it changes so fast and Google's so fickle?
Oh God, it's a tough skill to learn today because AI is changing everything.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Google's changing it. I mean, that's why they sank all those niche websites in 23, really getting ready for what they call generative search,
Yeah.
which is AI search. And now you've got, I don't know the future of blogging from a organic traffic point of view. You can still do really well on a blog if you build an audience on other, sites. So if you have
Yeah.
your own email list, you can still run a blog and send direct traffic to it, or you can send traffic from Facebook, or you can send traffic from Pinterest. So Google isn't the
Yeah.
be
But
all.
the key thing is to build your own audience and build your own email list because
Absolutely.
without that, you're subject to the whims of all of these social media sites. Because TikTok could be shut down tomorrow, and
Absolutely.
you could have built a huge business on TikTok, and then it's gone,
It's
right?
gone.
So
I
yeah,
see I see so many people at the moment talking about TikTok Shop and how well they're doing with TikTok Shop and all the rest of it. And I just think to myself, God, I hope you're building an email list behind that.
yeah,
Because yeah, all it takes is one slight algorithm change. And you're gone. So it doesn't matter what business, it doesn't matter if you're doing e-commerce, it doesn't matter if you're doing consulting, it doesn't matter if you're doing freelancing, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you want to get to a point where you are not exchanging time for money and where you're able to start selling offers and products and what have you to your core audience, build an email list
yeah,
from day one.
absolutely, absolutely. So you're in Australia now. How long have you been there?
Yeah, okay. So my daughter finished school finally,
Hmm.
last May. She graduated, and so we went to England for a little while to see family and friends and stuff, and then we went to Mexico, and then we went for a trip along the French Riviera, which was super
Nice.
lovely.
You're starting to get your traveling in.
Starting to get the whole traveling vibe back.
Nice.
We came to Brisbane, so that was last November. It is now April, and we are here until August, and then we will drop my daughter off in London to go to college. And then yeah, we're off.
You're
We're
everywhere.
off and
So,
away.
so what do you do about healthcare? I mean, I don't know what it's like in Australia or where you've been, but I mean, I'm assuming, especially if you're over 50, there's people are concerned about getting healthcare and how healthcare works. I mean, have you ever had an issue with that, or has it always
Well,
been
you
good for
know
you?
what? That's really interesting because we've always had insurance, right? So
Hmm.
we've always we used to be with Cigna, and we would get our health insurance through Cigna, and it came in handy once or twice, I guess. But I was chatting to a couple I met in Brisbane a few weeks ago who are in their 60s and are perpetual travelers. They're just full-blown nomads traveling around the world.
Nice.
And she was saying to me, they don't have insurance anymore. They've packed up with their medical insurance. They have repatriation insurance.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
the reason is, and I get what she's saying as well, especially having lived in Thailand, healthcare is so much cheaper and better in places like Turkey, Thailand, Malaysia, other places like that, where you can just go in and literally pay. So I could walk into Thailand when I had I've got a bit of a dodgy knee, and when I had to go and have a little operation on my knee, I just paid for it. And
Wow.
I could have
And in
got it covered.
Thailand, you could do that in Thailand. Here, different story.
Yeah. And I could have got it covered by insurance, I guess, but by the time I paid the excess, it was just as good, just as cheap for me to go and pay for the operation itself. So, I'm not saying do that. I mean, you need to
Mm,
do your due diligence and
of
decide what,
course.
of course, for really horrific long-term health problems or diseases or
Oh
whatever,
yeah.
might want insurance. Um, but so it's an interesting question that we're actually discussing at the moment. Do we go out and pay? Because it's going to be £500, £600 a month now
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
we're getting older, for our medical insurance, or do we not bother for a few years, just have that repatriation insurance, just that sort of that blanket, knowing that we can jump on a plane and go to somewhere cheap to get healthcare.
And
So
that's what that insurance is. It's it's that's what it does. That's what repatriation insurance does.
repatriation would take me home to my home country. So
Okay.
if anything awful happened, repatriation would get me back to the UK.
And then they take care of it there, assuming they
Yeah,
could take care of it in time. Otherwise, you get it done. So it's actually and I guess it depends on which countries you're at, right? I mean, if you were living in the US or somewhere where healthcare is more expensive, it may not make sense. It might make more sense to get insurance. But if you're in a country where the healthcare is good and inexpensive, it may make better sense to have something like that.
yeah, exactly. So it's a great question, and it's something we're exploring at the moment. And knowing us, we probably will go down the insurance route, just to have that comfort of knowing that should anything horrific happen, we're covered.
Yeah.
Um,
My
but
wife and I are of the same mind. That's
yeah,
absolutely what we're gonna do.
yeah.
So do
But
you
we definitely look at the kind of cover we'd get. So for instance, we wouldn't get we would only get cover for we'd really look at the packages closely and make sure that we only get cover for the real big
Yeah,
stuff.
like catastrophic stuff,
Yeah,
right? If
yeah,
something major happens, yeah,
yeah.
that makes total sense. And
Yeah.
what about how do you do your time management? Because I'm assuming you spend a lot of time at your laptop. How do you work in, wellness and other breaks and stuff like that, and exercise and all that other good stuff?
Okay, well, first of all, I don't. My husband's really good at
I love your honesty.
it. My husband's just completely committed. He gets up
Mm,
at 5 o'clock every morning and immediately goes straight out for at least an hour and a half to walk and
wow,
hangs and push
nice,
up.
inspirational, I might add.
Very inspirational while I'm laying in bed thinking, oh, I really should go and join him, but I'm not going to. Um, um,
Love it.
so, so discipline is a big is desperately
But
needed.
you're disciplined to create content. It's just it's a different kind of discipline, right?
Yeah, but the great thing about actually one of the things I'm really looking forward to, one of the things I found last summer while we were traveling around, and also every year I go backpacking with my sister,
Mm,
um, for about 3 weeks. And the big thing with travel is you do so much more. You're moving so much more.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Uh,
As soon as you land somewhere, you stop
yeah,
moving. But
yeah.
as you're traveling, you're always moving.
You're always moving, and depending on the time. So when we leave, we're going to go to South America in January. So I've got some things to do with friends and stuff at the end of this year in Europe, but we're going to go to South America in January, and our whole plan is to overland through South America. Um,
Nice.
with a backpack, with a bag. And so we will be moving all the time. We'll be walking and we'll be hiking and we'll be exploring and we'll be seeing towns and all the rest of it. So, all of a sudden, that whole I must go to the gym and work out thing,
Mm,
doesn't really become an
yeah,
issue
it's
because
moot.
you're walking all the time, you're moving all the time, you're hiking your bag around all the time. And so, it's from a health perspective, from a movement perspective, it's so much better for you.
Are you still gonna be working during that time though? Are you concerned about spending less time working while you're doing all that?
No, 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 because what we'll do is, or a few things. First of all, we are both my husband and I are very early risers.
Mm,
So there'll be mornings where we just wake up and we do 2 or 3 hours before we head off and go and explore wherever we are.
right.
And then our other plan is to every so often we'll stop for a couple of weeks. We'll just stop somewhere just so that we can regroup and we can catch up and we can, prep the next few weeks and,
Yeah, you
do
can record some content for scheduled placement and stuff like that. So yeah, that's
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yep, yep. And
Yeah.
then also trains, buses, stuff like that. If I've got my newsletter I want to get out, I can sit and do that on a train. And also team. I mean, we've got a couple of guys that work for us in the Philippines, and I'm just with the working traveler. So I didn't quite finish that story. So what happened is after Google kind of basically just totally demolished my site, Your Lifestyle Business, I actually had a whole kind of pivot and decided that with Your Lifestyle Business, it was all just about the business. How do you earn
Mm,
money online?
right.
Um, what I
So you
wanted to
niche down to just that piece.
Yeah, and what I wanted to do was go much more on the travel. I wanted to talk to 50 plus nomads. I wanted to
Mm,
talk to people who love to travel. I wanted to talk to people who wanted to be a bit younger and retain their youth and vitality and all the rest of it as they
nice.
morphed into their mature years. And so it actually helped me to completely pivot, change my brand to the working traveler. Um, and I now focus on primarily 50 plus digital nomads, I guess, because I
Mhm.
still want to talk about how do you build a business, how do you have and it's not just about building a business, it's about having purpose,
Mm,
it's about building a fun side hustle or something that A brings in a bit of extra money, but B you love doing and it gives you purpose and it gives you another reason to get out of bed in the morning and do something fun and keep the brain going and all that sort of stuff. So hence why the Working Traveller came about. So with the Working Traveller, though, I am actually looking at launching some e-commerce products, some
hmm.
travel products, and that takes a little bit more daily hands-on than the content stuff. The content stuff you can quite easily batch, so you
Right.
can kind of do that. You can sit for a week somewhere and you can write 3 weeks worth of content that's
Oh
going to
yeah.
go out and stuff.
Yeah.
But to run an e-commerce business takes a bit more of daily stuff. But that's where we'll start slowly growing a small team in the Philippines, which is what we did before for our chef Remy, to help us do the daily running of that. So it's just a case of jumping on Slack and having chats and
So you're not quite at the 4 hour work week yet.
no, not yet. No. But only
I
because we
keep
live
thinking about the writer. I forget his name, but
Paris.
this is Timothy Ferris has got to be one of the hardest working men in anything, right? And I'm like, here he wrote this book about working only 4 hours a week, and I'm sure he works like 400 hours a week or whatever. So it's
Actually,
like,
his story about how he came up with that title is quite good. I can't remember the whole story now, but if you Google it and go and look for why Tim called it the 4 hour work week, it was something really innocuous. Like he came out with like 10 titles and went to a friend of his, and between them they picked the one that they thought would have the biggest impact,
yeah, and it worked.
Yeah, and it worked.
Right, like right moment, right time. See, that's another thing. It's like you got to be lucky. I mean, you hit things right at the right moment, like the right demand at the right moment. I mean, do you feel like you have a sixth sense to hit that sort of thing, or like what do you think happened?
No, I think I was just lucky. Actually, no, what's interesting is something I do write about quite a lot on my Substack, because I've just started delving into Substack recently, is the whole doing rather than thinking. And I think
Mm,
more you're out there doing, then opportunities pop up a lot. If you're just thinking all the time, or what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Then you never actually go out there and find what's working and what's happening and what's going on. So no, I don't think
exactly.
it makes sense. I think it's just the fact that I do. I'm just an action. I'm just somebody who takes action all the time.
Yeah.
So if I'm not 100% certain what to do or what I'm going to do, I just go and do something. And usually through doing something, opportunities pop up.
Yeah. I mean, the trick is to start. Like if you
Yeah,
don't start, it never gets anywhere. And
yeah,
if you start, then once you start getting feedback, then you can decide, do I pivot this way? Do I pivot that way? But the people who just they don't start because they keep thinking about starting, never going to get anywhere. So you just need to get that, even if it's not 100%. It's like, this is from the startup world. It's like, if it's out there and it's embarrassing, that's probably good because
yeah.
that way you can get some feedback on it and you can decide what to do from there. So yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You need to start and go. And if it doesn't work out, you can always do something else. You can always change. You can always
Yeah,
pivot.
absolutely. Because the time's going to pass anyway. I
Yeah.
think people kind of think to themselves, oh, but I'm going to waste time doing that. But you're going to waste time just thinking about not doing it.
Yeah. And at least if it's out there, you can get some feedback from people going, yeah, this works or this doesn't work, right? I mean, it's just like anything else. I love it. And then what about technologies, right? I'm assuming you have a bunch of, laptops and software and stuff like that. I mean, Do you use anything special, or is it all just sort of standard off the shelf stuff?
I have one laptop, the one I'm talking on right now.
That's it. One laptop.
My little MacBook. That's it. Oh, that and
Nice light MacBook that does
my phone.
everything. I love it.
Yeah.
And that's all you
Yeah.
need.
I was actually desperately disappointed earlier this year and made a purchase mistake in that I used to have a tiny little MacBook. It was like an 11-inch
Oh, I love
Mac.
those. I
Oh
love
my God.
those. The
I
Air.
loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. And I've had it for years and it was so small and it would just fit in my bag and no problem at all. And then this year they've got rid of it. They don't do it that
I
anymore.
know.
So the smallest one they've got is a 13, I think. So
Oh,
I thought
so
this year,
big.
oh, I'll buy an iPad. I'll get an iPad instead, a little iPad. So I bought myself a little iPad, but I couldn't do most of the stuff I wanted to do on my iPad. It
No,
just
you
has
can't.
can't you the iOS stuff, it hasn't caught up yet. Lots of websites
Exactly.
don't work. So I had to go out and buy myself a 13-inch laptop, but it's quite light. It's pretty light, so it's
I
all
know,
right.
but it's hard to get used to after having an 11-inch. And it's when you're traveling all the time, weight makes a big difference.
It
It's
does.
amazing how big a difference the weight makes.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, just my laptop. And no, I don't really have an awful lot of technology. I mean, a lot of my work with the Working Traveller, I've still got my blog. Um, which I kind of just want to keep. I'm not SEOing in any great degree. I'm putting out one or two SEO, if you like, blog posts a week. Um, but I'm very aware of how AI is going to change everything over the next couple
Mm,
of years. So I'm not putting all my effort into my blog, but it is going to be my home for my, e-commerce site and stuff like that. So it makes sense to continue just growing that on
sure.
a really slow basis. As
Right.
for content, I'm literally going between Substack and Facebook at the moment.
Hmm.
So I publish quite a few posts on Medium just to test the waters, just to see what people like and what people don't like.
Do you have a
Um,
big audience on Medium?
no, not really, only about 500 people.
Mm,
But it's just the thing with Substack is once you start to grow on Substack, it's a newsletter as well as a publishing platform, right? So
yep.
people subscribe to you. So every article that you publish is also a newsletter. It goes straight into people's inbox. So I don't want to write 5 or 6 articles a week because, I don't want people getting 5 or 6 articles a week in their inbox when they've got
Yeah.
a million things coming into their inbox. So I just use Medium really as a place to practice my writing. I don't
Mm,
get a amount of feedback, but the odd clap and what have you tells me that somebody enjoyed that piece of writing. So then I might repurpose that back onto Substack, or I might write something completely new for Substack. But I got the whole Medium to Substack idea from a writer called Derek Hughes, who's on
mm.
Substack. Very, very good. Um, but again, he writes about writing, very meta, right?
All these people who do meta do really, really well. So I think
Yeah.
people have to think about that. Like you don't necessarily need, you should speak to yourself as an audience because there's plenty of people who are like you that are
Yes.
probably looking for guidance.
Yes.
So do you, so go ahead.
I was just going to say I've actually struggled a bit with that with the Working Traveller because I want to write about nomadism.
Mm,
I want to write about travel, nomadism, digital nomadism, freeing yourself from your house. From I don't mean that in a negative way, but I mean, just having that mindset freedom to just go out and explore the world and
yes.
also just getting away from, oh my God, online at the moment, socials and politics and everything. I mean, it's going crazy.
Oh, it's
So
nuts.
one of the beautiful things to do is to get away from that and go traveling and explore the world and see what's happening in other countries. And all that sort of stuff. So I like to talk about that, but I also really like to talk about business. I love to talk about how do you actually fund your adventures? How do you
Mm,
make money online? How do you create this income from nothing, just using only your computer? I really love talking about that as well. And also my other passion is about longevity, energy,
hmm.
how do we stay young as we get older? How do we retain that energy and that vitality and all that sort of stuff? So I've kind of got all these things. And I know from experience that great success comes from niching right down and honing in on really one thing,
Right.
right? And so
Exactly.
my experience tells me that. And yet I'm at the stage in my life where I'm like, well, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to talk about nomadism in
But yeah,
general.
these are all three really distinct niches.
Right.
right?
So at the moment, where I'm going with that is I'm just testing it. I'm just
Mm,
going out there, I'm writing stuff, and I'm just putting it out there on Medium and Substack, and I'm sending it out in my weekly newsletter, and I am just testing it. And over the next 6 months or so, people will start to tell me through the blog posts they read the most, the ones they click on the most, the ones that get the most response, the ones that get the most engagement. Those will be the ones that people really want to read. And I'll see that in the next 6 months or so. And people will either constantly click on the digital nomad ones or they'll constantly click on the longevity ones.
hmm
And I'll see what are people really resonating with. And then what I will do is I will double down on that and I will still write my other stuff, but maybe only, once every couple of weeks.
Right.
And I will double down on the stuff that the people are that my audience are really telling me they want more of. Um, and that's the secret. But I'm in a very privileged position that I've got the time to do that.
Yeah.
I can just do that over the next 6 or 12 months and decide which direction I really want to go in. If you're don't have that and you want to kind of get started a bit quicker, then my recommendation would definitely be to niche right down at the beginning and then broaden out as you grow.
So as part of the technologies, what about the platforms? It sounds like you talked about Substack, Medium. I mean, where do you go? TikTok, where do you go? Like, does it depend on what you're
It,
doing, or
it
how do you
depends on
decide what to pick?
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing. If you love writing, if you really enjoy writing, my advice right now would be go Substack.
Mm,
100%. It's early days. It's one of those early door opportunities that I was
yes.
talking about earlier. You're going to get engagement now. You're going to find people there, and you're going to start to grow your subscription, your email list. So it's an all-in-one platform. You can write on there, you can do podcasts on there, you can do live video on there, and or you're automatically growing your email list without having to have a separate
Oh,
email.
nice. So you recommend
Right.
start like if you were going to start from nothing, Substack would be a good place to start
If you enjoy writing.
if you enjoy writing.
If
Okay.
if you love doing videos and podcasts and stuff like you're now doing, Chris, then I would go YouTube. I would go,
Mm,
the videos on YouTube, you're posting the podcasts on Spotify, I imagine.
yeah.
If that's what you love to do. You can do that on Substack as well. But if you're primarily video, then you want a video platform that's going
Right.
to help you
But
show
isn't it
your
more difficult to get it seen on YouTube as opposed to Substack, as opposed to, well, Spotify is a different story, but
I think it depends on the medium that you're using. So
right,
I think if you Substack is primarily a writing platform that also does podcast and video if you want to.
right.
YouTube is a video platform, you know. Apple and Spotify are audio
Well, would you say
platform.
that you should be on all these platforms?
No,
Or
God, no.
okay, okay,
Pick the one. No, no, no. There's no way you can possibly do that, especially if you're a solopreneur and
right.
you're, just you and nobody else, and you're doing it in your spare time. No, pick one. But what I would do, I would pick one primary platform and one social to back you up. So,
hmm
like for instance, I'm on Substack, but I've got my working traveler page or my 50 nomad group, my 50 plus nomad group. And by the way, I wouldn't recommend doing both. I'm maintaining both only because I started both and I've now
Right,
kind of got both to maintain. But I would pick a group or a page. And again, sorry, I'm going to make it sound complicated, and I don't mean to. It depends on your long-term strategy.
right,
So if you want to build a community and you want to grow a nice community of people, start with a group. Don't go with a page. A
right.
page is just more of a kind of a look at me. It's a
Yeah,
brand building thing, but a group
right.
is a community building thing. So
But which one's
let's
more lucrative though?
Well, Facebook pages, unless you get millions of followers and you get hundreds of thousands of engagement on your posts, you're not going to make a lot of money on your Facebook page. You
Right,
can use your Facebook page to advertise, but you can do that with no followers.
right.
So, you set up an ad account and a Facebook page and you can start to advertise. So,
Yeah,
but a group is, you can start to build relationships with those people, and then you can get those people onto your email list. You can use a group to build your email list because in your questions, when people join your group, you can actually put in a "Would you like to join my email list?" question, and
oh,
people,
fantastic.
yeah,
So
yeah,
so
so
working together with Substack and Facebook sounds like a good way to start.
absolutely, that's a
Yeah.
great. So if you enjoy writing, um, then Substack's a great platform. And then I would couple that with a social platform where your audience are. So it's all good and
Mm,
well saying Facebook, but if your audience are 16 to 18-year-old teens, they're all on
Yeah.
TikTok. So
TikTok or
no,
Instagram or
yeah,
wherever your
no point
audience
being on
is.
Facebook. Yeah. So you need to go and where your audience is. But if you love making video, then go with a video platform like YouTube, you
Right.
know?
So,
Um,
so if I were, let's go, I just wanted to, I know we don't have much time left, so I just want to wrap up with, if you were to, if someone were to come to you and say, I want to start a business today, I want to do this, I want to become a nomad, what would you do first? What would your recommendation be? Especially today compared to what you've seen.
you need to build an audience.
Mm.
The first thing you have to do is figure out
And it
where
doesn't matter where. It
it
doesn't matter
doesn't
with
matter.
what.
It doesn't matter what you want to do. If you want to build a business online that you can run completely from your laptop, then you need customers. You need people who are going to buy your stuff. So first of all, figure out who those people are. So for me, I may have those three broad things, digital nomadism, energy, longevity, but my audience are clear. They are 50 plus nomads. That's it. It's clear as day who I'm talking to. So every
Right.
single time I put out a piece of content, I am talking specifically to somebody who is over 50 and who wants to travel
Right.
and generate an income online.
Yep.
It's very specific who my audience is. So even if you do have a few interests, figure out exactly who your person is. Who are you talking to? Who's the person that you want to serve? The person that you want to solve problems for? The person that you want to talk to? Who is that person? And then figure out where are they, and then start creating content where they are. Are they on Substack? Are they on Facebook? Are they on TikTok? Are they on Instagram?
Yeah.
And
Do they
then
like watching videos? Do they like reading? Do they like
absolutely.
listening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then pick one platform, like we just said. You can have that, like that, because it's all repurposing. So I don't do new
Yes.
stuff on my second. I take what I've done on my primary platform and I repurpose it onto my secondary platform. But don't try and be on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and all the rest of it. Sure, if you want to say, right, I am going to do 5 reels a day on TikTok, right? Let's say that's what you're going to do, 5 reels a day on TikTok. Great. No reason why you can't repurpose them on Instagram. There's
Hmm.
no reason you can't literally
Or
take
even
a shoot.
YouTube, because YouTube's got
Yeah,
shorts now too, right?
exactly. And throw them onto Instagram or YouTube as well. Why not? But you're not focused on those platforms. Your focus is on TikTok. You're going to go and engage with people on TikTok. You're going to go and follow other people on TikTok. You're going to go and find other content on TikTok. That's the mistake a lot of people make. They
Mm.
go all over the place and they want to be
I got to
everywhere.
be everywhere. You don't
Absolutely.
have to be everywhere.
And you can't be,
Yeah.
eventually, when you grow and you have a team and you have people helping you and all the rest of it, then you can. But right now, your best bet is to really master that one primary place and go and start building your email list. I can't say that with any more passion, but
Mm.
definitely start building people onto your email list, because then that is an asset that you have that nobody can take it. No algorithm is going to come and take that away from you.
Yeah.
That's your, you own that.
Yeah. And what about the difference between what people want and what you want to do? Is there something there, or should you just focus on what you want to do? Like focus on your passion and then your audience will find you? Or should you be adjusting yourself based on what I think people might want?
It's like the $1 million question, Chris. And really, really, really interesting, because I wrote something on Substack this week and I said something along the lines of confused about your niche. Just start showing up, just start putting out content, just start about writing what excites you, what lights you up, all the rest of it, and your niche will find you.
Hmm.
And and a guy came on and commented and said, great for self-exploration, not so good if you want to build a business. And I totally get where he's coming from. He's right. If you want to build a business, you need to figure out your niche. You need to get in there and you need to make it happen for that niche. But the problem is so many people get so confused at that beginning stage that they never figure out their niche. They never figure out their target market and they never go anywhere. They just think about it. So
Exactly.
if a little bit of self-exploration is what it takes for you to find your niche, then go and do that first. So we've all got a rough idea of what we want to do, right?
Hmm.
We've all
Hmm.
got a
We all have
rough,
a passion that we want to follow.
yeah,
Absolutely.
we all have a rough vision, yeah. And most of the time, it's not that we don't know what we want to do that holds us back. It's fear
Mm.
of getting it wrong or looking like an idiot or maybe there other people are doing it and it's too much competition or nobody's going to listen to me or whatever. So it's mainly the fear. It's not really that we don't. If we really look deep inside ourselves, most of the time we kind of know roughly what it is what interests us, what lights us up,
Yeah.
right? What we want to talk about on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And a lot of the reason we don't start is because we're just a little bit scared.
Yeah.
We don't really understand what to do. We don't really know, and people are probably going to think we're idiots if we go out and do it, right?
It's the whole shouting into the void thing, though. It's kind of like I could put myself out there and I would get crickets and there's no feedback and nothing comes
Yes.
back. And it's like I'm
Yes.
so people are so afraid of putting themselves out there and being rejected
Yes.
or ignored.
And that shouting into the void is beautiful because I've literally been going through it myself. No word of a lie. I've been on Substack and I've been posting and posting and getting zero, zero,
Mm,
zero, nothing. No likes, no feedback, no response. And can I just tell you, it is so hard. It is so hard. You get up in the morning, you look at your stats and you think, oh God, I'm just going totally down the wrong thing here.
yeah, you're doing
Nobody
something
wants
wrong.
to hear about
Yeah.
it. Yeah, nobody wants to know about my stuff. I'm I need to write about how to make money on Substack. That's the only way I'm ever going to
Yeah.
get an audience on Substack.
That works though.
Yeah, it does. Um, but all of a sudden, literally all of a sudden in the last few days, because I've just posted relentlessly, I've just been on there going, no, forget it. I'm going to do it because you have no, things called Substack Notes, which is like the
Hmm.
social media side of Substack.
Right.
So I've just been posting every single day, 3 or 4 times a day, and spending about 20 minutes going and engaging in other people's posts, saying hello, dropping a like, having a comment, da da da. And all of a sudden, in the last few days, my notes have started to get some likes, some
Oh,
comments, some
nice.
restacks, da, da. And all of a sudden you start to get that feedback. But you have to go through that 2, 3, 4 weeks. It's not very long of just posting completely into the void.
And the interaction is important too, because if you just post and post and post and post, you're going to get nothing. But you've got to elicit that interaction, right?
Yes. Yes, you
Yeah.
do have to spend some time just going out and engaging with other people and chatting with other people. And I know it's hard. It
Yeah.
is hard. And you don't have time. I know you don't have time. But you know that 20 minutes where you're sat having a cup of coffee, reading through the latest Trump news? Instead of doing that, go and
Yes.
engage.
Don't do that. That's
Spend that 20 minutes, spend that 20 minutes engaging with somebody on the platform that you're on.
yeah.
Spend that 20 minutes going and finding other people who are interested in the thing that you're interested in and just having a chat with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yes,
Exactly. It's kind of like the flipping of the script from consuming to creation, right? Because so many people spend so much time consuming, they just have to think, well, how could I turn this into something of creation? How can I turn this into a creation act as opposed to a consumption act?
yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, this has
that's
been
exactly
great. I love this. We should have to do it again. Can we do this? Can we do this
absolutely.
again?
Yeah,
Because there's
100%.
so
No, I've
much more
really
to talk
enjoyed it.
about.
Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it. We've gone a bit round in
It's
gone
okay.
off.
That's the way I operate. We go all over the place.
But I think, for anybody out there, if you're a 50 plus nomad and, you're already traveling or you really want to travel, um, I just love the fun side hustle aspect of this
Hmm.
thing. I've just published a couple of journals. I haven't quite got them live yet, but I've done them on Lulu Express and I'm putting them on my shop on the
There's
Working
another
Traveller.
platform.
Yeah. And who knows if anybody will buy them, but it's so much fun just putting stuff together and getting it out there
Yeah.
and anyway.
Yeah,
So
no, I think the thing that people forget is that, you know your stuff so well that you think that no one else would be interested in it.
yeah.
But the reality is that everyone is interested in your stuff. You just have
Yeah.
to get it out there so that people will see it. And then when people see it and they start knowing you, they go, "Oh my God, I need more of this stuff. I need more of this stuff." So and what you're selling is yourself, your unique self, your unique attitudes, your unique experience, or your character, all of that stuff. People are interested in that. So if people just had the self-esteem to understand that this is something that people want to hear from, you are someone people want to hear from, then it makes things easier. But it's
I
tough to
just
get over that barrier.
It is. And you know what? A chap in the Nomad group the other day posted his new TikTok, I think it is, or Instagram, I can't remember, but he's doing reels and what's he called himself? He's called himself the Nomad. not the Nomad chef, something about cooking, right?
Hmm.
I know, funny, right? But and it's not that what he's doing is he's traveling the world and he's taking video footage of all the different foods from around the world. Yeah.
Nice. That's
And
everyone
it's
loves that. What's
amazing.
not to love?
What's that? What is not to love about that?
Exactly.
And I think the
And
comment
there's
came,
a million people doing it, but it's still
yeah,
amazing.
it's amazing. And I think he put something like, "Oh, my son just told me to do this because, I enjoy food," or so. I can't remember the comment he made, but it was like, my kid encouraged me to do this sort of thing.
Yeah,
And it's like you may think nobody's going to be. All the kids have got it. They've all got TikTok. They've all got Instagram. They've got it. I'm too long in the tooth now. No, who wants to listen to a 58-year-old whatever who enjoys eating pasta on the whatever in Italy?
yeah.
They do. People do.
People
People
do.
our age do. We all do.
Yeah,
There's our market, the 50s, 60s, 70s is hugely underserved when it comes to
absolutely.
adventure and excitement and travel and all the rest of it. We're massively served when it comes to, settling down, getting your pipe and
Yeah, the
slippers,
boring stuff.
you know, looking after your health, we're hugely underserved in the excitement, adventure, travel. And even if you go onto Facebook and you see a gazillion 50 plus travel groups, it doesn't matter. There's like 8 billion people on this planet, and our market
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
hugely
what we're trying to do is we're trying to help people get over the aspirational piece and into the actual life, because
yes.
that's where the really interesting stuff comes. So don't be an armchair nomad. Be a real
No.
nomad.
Be a real nomad. Get out there. I
Yeah.
just wrote a post yesterday. Sorry, I know we've got to finish, but I just literally wrote a post yesterday. I started with benefits of slow travel, and as I was writing the post, I thought, "Oh God, I don't want this. I don't want this. I want to race across the world." Why am I writing about slow travel when
I
right now
love
what
it.
I do is race across the world?
I
So I
love it.
completely flipped the whole article onto why slow travel, yeah, it has a place in your nomadic life because we all need to just chill out and relax a little bit. But we also need a little bit of fast travel and we need some excitement and we need to
Exactly.
get
I love
around
it.
people's
See,
young and
see,
vital.
you
So
pivoted. You pivoted.
limited.
Well, this has been great. So thank you so much. So I'll put the links to your stuff in the show notes so people can go direct. But
Yep.
if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Probably just go to my website, theworkingtraveler.com.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, thank
Yep.
you so much. We'll
Thank
talk
you.
again for sure.
Yes, definitely.
All
Yes,
right.
thank you.
Talk to you
Good
later.
luck.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I'm living that nomad life, city to city, feeling alive. From mountain tops to ocean drives, unchained. I thrive, I thrive. Oh, I thrive, I thrive, I thrive. I thrive, I thrive, I thrive.